For anyone who's ever been captivated by maritime mysteries, the legend of the Octavius really stands alone. Imagine a ship, frozen solid in the glacial embrace of the Arctic, adrift for decades. Its sails are tattered, its hull scarred by ice, but inside. Well, a horrifying tableau. A crew, perfectly preserved, locked in this chilling embrace with death, almost as if time itself had just frozen them mid-action. This is the legend of the Octavius.
It's one of those stories that just grips you, isn't it? A truly unsettling ghost ship tale from the 18th century, whispered across generations of sailors. It speaks to something, well, primal in us.
Absolutely. Today we're taking a deep dive into this legendary vessel, the Octavius. We're journeying, metaphorically speaking, into the merciless heart of the Arctic to explore its chilling saga, dissect the supposed facts, and, really question its authenticity. Our mission, to unpack the fascinating details of this maritime mystery, understand its lasting impact, and maybe discover what this powerful legend reveals about, well, human ambition, the unforgiving Arctic, and our enduring fascination with the unknown.
It's a powerful narrative, absolutely. And we're going to try and trace its journey from, a chilling discovery right through to becoming this lasting cultural phenomenon.
So let's dive into how this terrifying tale supposedly unfolded. It all starts October 11th, 1775. The setting, the unforgiving, ice-choked waters off the coast of Greenland.
Right. Not exactly a pleasure cruise location.
Definitely not. This isn't a place for the faint of heart, even for hardened sailors back then.
That's right. And cutting through those frozen expanses was a British whaling ship, the Herald. They were out there, searching for whales, often enduring just brutal conditions. It was during this perilous journey they stumbled upon something truly out of place.
And then they spotted this anomaly, a derelict three-masted schooner that's a type of sailing ship, fast, usually just adrift amidst the ice floes.
Yeah.
Its rigging was all tangled, its hull bearing the scars of, years of battling the ice. And faintly visible on its bow, the name, Octavius.
The Herald's crew, understandably, they approached cautiously. You would, wouldn't you? But that initial curiosity, it quickly turned to dread. The ship was just unmoving, unnervingly silent.
Eerie.
Totally eerie. There was this stillness on its snow and ice-coated deck. It was clearly abandoned, but something about it was just profoundly wrong.
So a 5-man boarding party was sent over. They stepped aboard, finding no sign of life, no distress signals, nothing. Just this profound silence that, as the source describes it, defied explanation.
Right. And what they found next, it plunged them into a nightmare, one perfectly preserved by the extreme cold.
And the scene they discovered, it was beyond anything they could have possibly imagined.
Oh, absolutely. As the Herald's men ventured deeper into the Octavius, they stumbled upon this tableau of, unimaginable horror. The entire crew of 28, dead, frozen, and almost perfectly preserved by the intense Arctic cold.
Wow.
They appeared locked in the very last moments of life, just stopped.
That image, the crew frozen mid-action, it's incredibly powerful, isn't it? What specific details emerged from the Herald's boarding party? What painted such a vivid, almost cinematic scene for them?
The descriptions are, chilling is the right word. In the captain's cabin, they apparently found him slumped over his desk, pen still in hand, his logbook open right there.
Like he was writing.
Exactly. And right there beside him, in their bunks, were the bodies of a woman and a young boy, unclothed and covered with a blanket. Also in the cabin was a sailor with a tinderbox, like he was just about to light a fire, frozen mid-task.
Incredible. And it wasn't just the captain's cabin, right?
No. Sailors were found throughout the ship on deck, in the galley below decks, all locked in the positions they held when, presumably, this deep freeze just hit them. Their very postures suggested an instantaneous, maybe even a painless death.
It raises a truly haunting question. What on earth could cause an entire crew to be instantly flash frozen like that, in the middle of their duties, leaving them so perfectly preserved?
It adds this almost supernatural element to what was obviously a tragic event, doesn't it? But there was one crucial clue they found that hinted at an even deeper, perhaps more terrifying mystery. The captain's logbook.
The logbook. I can only imagine the, dread and urgency the boarding party felt trying to get their hands on that.
Yes, exactly. They managed to retrieve it, but it was brittle with age and ice, and apparently, due to the freezing, it slipped from its binding. They only managed to save the first and the last few pages.
Oh, frustrating. But crucial pages, I bet.
Absolutely. And on that last legible page, the most chilling revelation of all, the date, It was November 11th, 1762.
1762, but they found it in 1775.
Exactly. Think about that for a moment. 13 years. 13 years the ship had been adrift.
Wow.
It just transforms the Octavius from a simple wreck into this floating tomb, a silent testament to the Arctic's immense power. It really embodies that idea of time suspended.
13 years adrift in the Arctic before its discovery. For over a decade, this ghost ship, with its frozen crew, had been a silent, haunting voyager across the desolate Arctic.
Just imagine seeing that.
So if we piece together the story's background, the Octavius supposedly left England for the Orient back in 1761, and it successfully arrived the following year. But then, the captain made a fateful gamble.
Right. He decided to attempt a return voyage through the treacherous, and back then very little known, Northwest Passage.
The shortcut.
The infamous shortcut, yeah. Through the Arctic. It had already claimed countless lives and defied many expeditions. The unfortunate result, according to the legend, was that the vessel became hopelessly trapped in sea ice somewhere north of Alaska.
So in a really twisted way, the ship actually made the Northwest Passage, but posthumously drifting across the Arctic with its frozen crew.
Pretty much. The ship's last recorded position, while the crew was apparently still alive, was 75 degrees north, 160 degrees west. That's about 250 miles, or 402 kilometers, north of Utqiagvik, Alaska. Back then it was known as Point Barrow.
And after its encounter with the Herald, the Octavius was supposedly carried away by currents and wind during the night near Greenland and just vanished again.
Never seen again. It just continued its ghostly, silent drift, disappearing back into the frozen expanse.
The story is so incredibly vivid, so detailed, that feels like it just has to be true. But is it? Given how captivating this legend is, how much of it do we think is genuinely verifiable fact? And how much is maybe the embellishment of time and retelling? This is where the mystery really deepens for you, the listener.
And that's the crucial question, isn't it? The story largely seems to originate from publications like the Annual Register and various 19th century maritime anthologies, but verifiable primary evidence, things like official naval records of a Herald's encounter or the original logbook itself, well, it's scarce, or maybe even non-existent.
So it's leaning more towards being a powerful piece of folklore than a concrete historical event.
I think that's fair to say, absolutely. And it's actually a testament to the power of these maritime myths that they can shift and morph over time while still retaining their core unsettling elements.
How so?
Well, similar stories appeared even before the Octavius one we know best. They shared some elements, but not all. For instance, there's a 1905 version where the ship was called the Gloriana, and there was no mention of the Northwest Passage at all.
Interesting, so the details change.
They really do. The earliest traced version seems to be from December 13th, 1828, in a Philadelphia newspaper, the Ariel. In that one, the derelict ship wasn't even named. Again, no Northwest Passage mentioned. And get this, the time adrift was given as 17 years, from 1762 until August 1775.
17 years that time.
Right. And even earlier snippets, like from 1825 or 1868, sometimes set the tale in completely different places, like the Baltic Sea, with no named ship or journal mentioned.
So the shifting details across versions, the ship's name, the time adrift, the location, the passage, they aren't just inconsistencies. They kind of reveal how these powerful stories adapt, don't they?
Exactly. They evolve in the collective consciousness, reflecting what resonates most deeply with an audience at a given time. It's almost as if the legend itself is a living thing, changing to fit the fears and fascinations of each generation.
But let's talk about that core image, the perfectly preserved frozen crew. That sounds almost too dramatic, too cinematic to be true. Is that scientifically plausible in the extreme Arctic?
Well, this is where the legend gets surprisingly grounded. The scientific aspect, the plausibility of that kind of preservation, it's actually very real.
Really?
Yeah. The extreme cold, the very dry air, and the lack of oxygen in those conditions create almost ideal circumstances for natural mummification and preserving organic matter for a long, long time.
So a perfectly preserved frozen crew, even if the narrative around it is mostly folklore, isn't actually outside the realm of possibility.
Not at all. We have real-world comparisons. Think of Ötzi the Iceman, found preserved in the Alps for millennia.
Right, Ötzi.
Or, more relevantly, the incredibly well-preserved bodies discovered from the doomed Franklin expedition in the Arctic. Those discoveries demonstrate that rapid freezing can indeed preserve human remains for decades or even centuries.
Okay.
So while the specific story of the Octavius might be more folklore than documented fact, The terrifying core of its story, that frozen tableau, is scientifically believable. It's a stark reminder of just how brutal nature can be up there.
And it's clearly a story that has resonated, finding its way into popular culture, too. You mentioned it being a cultural phenomenon.
It has. For instance, the ship in its story seemingly inspired a French graphic novel from 1974 by Jacques Tardy, The Arctic Marauder, or Le Demande de Glace in French.
What happens in that?
Well, it features a ship called the Iceland Loafer, found frozen atop a huge iceberg. And its frozen captain is found pointing to a specific point on a naval map, which turns out to be exactly where the discovering crew is located.
Ah, so it echoes the Octavius captain in the logbook scene.
Precisely. It's a direct echo. And for listeners who enjoy video games, the Octavius actually features in a naval mission in Assassin's Creed III. The main character, Connor Kenway, searches it for clues related to Captain Kidd's lost treasure.
So the legend definitely continues to capture imaginations even today.
It really does. The legend of the Octavius, whether fact or fiction, it stands as this stark reminder of the immense power and, frankly, the brutal indifference of the Arctic. It's a tale of human ambition pushing against nature's limits.
And the chilling, often fatal consequences when those limits are met.
Exactly. Whether entirely fact or a haunting blend of truth and folklore, the Octavius embodies our fascination with time suspended, with lives cut short, and with these silent, macabre mysteries that the vast frozen wilderness, well, it refuses to easily yield.
It feels like as the ice shifts and the glaciers groan, the Octavius, real or imagined, just continues its ghostly drift out there somewhere.
A frozen testament to the perils of the unknown, forever suspended in its terrifying, icy silence. It's a powerful image.
It truly is. And as we consider this enduring legend, real or imagined, it kind of compels us to ask, doesn't it? What fundamental human need do these tales of time suspended and lives cut short truly speak to? And what silent, haunting mysteries does the vast frozen wilderness continue to guard? Mysteries that keep us endlessly fascinated.